Alright, so we're just going to be looking at the fights that I think are more, pretty big mismatches, or pretty easy to break down, pretty, binary, one or the other type outcomes, or just fights I don't really care about. But honestly, on this card, there's not too many fights that I don't care for at all. I think all of them I'm pretty interested in watching and seeing how they play out. So yeah, not like last week where like half the fights I didn't really care about. But this card, it's quite nice. I like all the matchups, honestly. I think it's going to be quite entertaining. A lot of these guys are very fan-friendly in their styles, so I'm keen for this card. A few Anzacs on there as well. Volkanovski, Hooker. Hopefully Hooker makes it over. But yeah, so looking at a few of these. Been pretty mediocre with my results over the past 2 weeks. I don't think I've ever been under 500. Someone can fact check that, but I don't think I've ever been under 500, and I'm still not under 500, but I've been kind of breaking even in the tipping. Well, I've just been going, I've just been going 500 or just over 500 for the past 2 weeks, so I'm pretty keen to right that ship. Also been doing pretty average with the betting. I think I lost like 7 units over the past 2 weeks, so, not great, pretty bad plays, honestly. So, gotta learn from that, gotta improve on that. Darren Till was a terrible play. What else was a terrible play? I didn't have too much. Oh, Mike Rodriguez was a terrible play. That guy just didn't look good at all. He looked terrible. Yeah, even though he was an underdog, he looked like he didn't belong anywhere near the UFC. And he made Tafon Tafon just bullied him. Like, bro, you're like twice his size, man. But yeah, embarrassing for both, for me and for Mike Rodriguez. But yeah, so hopefully we wouldn't right the ship here. I have a lot of action on this card. I like a lot of spots in this card, so yeah, we'll get into it without further ado. First fight we're going to look at is Valentina Shevchenko versus Lauren Murphy. Alright, so, yeah, not much to say about this one. I don't know what to say, really. Shevchenko, she's obviously better everywhere. I think it's a clear mismatch. For sure, Lauren Murphy is a dog, and she's going to give it her all, but it's not nearly going to be enough to even make it competitive. I think Shevchenko should finish her. I can absolutely see a finish via cuts. Lauren Murphy cuts very easily. She's got a lot of scar tissue. I think if Shevchenko gets on top, she's going to land a few elbows. Probably not going to last too much longer after that with the type of skin, the thin skin that Lauren Murphy does have, and the elbows that Shevchenko throws. And Shevchenko, she's kept a higher finishing rate as of late, so I'm expecting another finish here. Murphy's path to victory is definitely the takedowns, because I do see her getting just blasted on the feet. Just speed advantage for Shevchenko is humongous in this one. Yeah, so I think Lauren Murphy's going to get blasted on the feet. She's going to try for takedowns. I don't think she's going to be able to get any. I think she would likely get reversed if she does try. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if Shevchenko subbed her off bottom position if Lauren Murphy does get her down. So I think Shevchenko is just ultimately better everywhere, and it would really shock me if Lauren Murphy won even one round of this fight. I mean, she's 38 years old, she's quite old, she's quite slow, she's probably the least skilled fighter, objectively speaking, that Valentina's had to face since Priscilla Cachoeira. And that's no disrespect, but it's just how I see it, and I think, a lot of people see it that way. So I'm just saying it how it is. I don't think she has a chance in this spot, but, respect for her for taking the fight. I guess, what else is she going to do? It's a shot at the title. You get more pay for that one fight. But I don't think it's going to be competitive at all. Next fight, fuck's sake, the recording button is over the back button. Okay, I have a back button on my mouse. Alright, so Rozenstruik. Alright, so I think this one's pretty straightforward to break down. On the feet, I'm expecting quite a low volume affair. Like, no joke. Blaydes he'll probably outwork Biggie Boy on the feet. But it is playing with fire if he does want to strike with Biggie Boy. So, I think the path of least resistance is obviously the takedowns, the grappling path. I think Curtis Blaydes has a huge advantage there. Like, Blaydes, if he doesn't get sparked on the entry, Blaydes just absolutely ragdolls Rozenstruik. And as soon as he gets him down, it's likely over from there. Like, from what I've seen from Rozenstruik on his bottom, with his bottom game, it's it's not pretty, and Curtis Blaydes is probably just going to get on top, get mount, throw some elbows, and it's going to be over not long after that. But yeah, Biggie Boy is training at ATT now, which I do like. A lot of heavyweights there, mostly washed, but couple heavyweight wrestlers there. Juan Espino is a good one. I think Juan Espino is there right now. I haven't actually checked, but it'd be good to have Espino in the training camp because he is a very good wrestler. I don't think the potential improvements that he would have made at ATT with his wrestling are going to be enough to compete in the wrestling with Curtis Blaydes. Like, you know, because on tape, his grappling has a long way to go to even be called subpar instead of terrible. Right now, it's terrible. If he's been working on his wrestling every day, maybe it's got to the subpar level, which is just not going to be enough to you know, compete with Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes is going to take him down, and it's going to be pretty ugly if it does hit the mat. I know all of Curtis Blaydes' losses are by KO, but he's shown a really good chin throughout his whole career. Like, the only two guys to KO him were Ngannou and Derek Lewis. Like, two of the biggest hitters in the division. And Derek Lewis was the first time he got put out cold. That was just a massive punch, massive uppercut, perfectly timed. He wasn't expecting it, which was silly because it was a pretty telegraphed takedown entry, but it is what it is. But, you know, the problem with Curtis Blaydes, in my opinion, is the fact that he likes to just go head first into huge shots. I think he has a good chin, but he just loves walking into massive shots. But yeah, that's probably the reason I'm not so super confident as to say 80 to 90% in favor of Curtis Blaydes, because, you know, Rozenstruik, I would put him on that level of Ngannou and Derek Lewis as a massive hitter, because I do think the guy has touch of death power. Like, when he connects, he like literally splits opponents' faces. I'm like, not even the obvious example of the Overeem fight where he connected with a right hook, I think it was, and he just split Overeem's lip up to his nose. I'm not even talking about that one. I'm talking about when he comboed, when he landed a combo on Sakai. I'm fairly sure it cut Sakai up. So I don't know what's with his power, but it just cuts opponent's skin. And that's how you know he has just devastating impact on his punches. And when he does connect, it's just with extreme impact and extreme power. So, you know, every time Curtis Blaydes has gone up against a power puncher, I know, you know, he's at heavyweight, so he's facing a lot of power punches, I guess. I'll put him in that category, but lately, every time he's come up against a massive puncher, he's been finished. So, not a great look, but I still think the grappling path is just too much for Blaydes not to win here. Well, for me not to pick Curtis Blaydes here, because if he does get on top, it's likely going to be over. He's going to get mount. He's going to, from what I've seen with Biggie Boy, he was versing this Ukrainian guy in the, I think, at Ryzen, and he just got mounted pretty easily, and it didn't look good. And if Blaydes gets in that position, it's likely all over. So I am going to pick Curtis Blaydes, but I'm not going to pay juice against like a guy with touch of death power like Jairzinho Rozenstruik. What is next? Modafferi. But yeah, so didn't look super deep into this one, just from knowing the two fighters. I didn't retape or anything. Taila Santos, she should smash here. She should smash Modafferi. She's the more technical striker. She has much more power, much less miles on the clock. Only concern is Roxy kind of outworking her on the feet, or Santos being taken down and just being content with being on her back, which we have seen in the past, but I think she's improved quite a bit since the Mara Borello fight, or however you pronounce her name. Her takedown defense is good. Like, what's her name? Santos. Her takedown defense is good, and I don't think Modafferi is going to have too much success with her wrestling. Then, you know, she's on the feet. She might land some pitter-patter shots, make it a close split decision, but she's going to be taking so much damage on when she's trying to close the distance. And, yeah, like, she's just going to get beat up at distance. So it's pick your poison on the feet with Taila Santos if you're Roxanne Modafferi. But it is, you know, I've been guilty of this before, but it is quite easy to underestimate Roxanne Modafferi. Really easy to, honestly. But in this one, I think Santos is the better grappler. She could ground Roxy quite easily if she wants to, in my opinion. So ultimately, I just think Santos is better everywhere. What's the next fight? I guess it's Semelsberger Sano. Alright, so this guy, this one. So Sano, I heard he's a friend of Nick Diaz, which makes sense. There's no other reason for him to be in the UFC. I watched like 2 fights of this guy. His last one I'll touch on. I skimmed it too. Like it looked like a terrible fight. Like it looked really bad. It looked like a bit of a grind fest, but like very low level, very non-technical. But yeah, I skimmed it because from what I've seen, just how he fights, I just knew he had no chance in this matchup or against anybody in the UFC. The guy just belongs nowhere near the UFC. He's probably the worst fighter on the UFC roster right now. He just walks headfirst into punches. He doesn't understand range or anything like that. Semi cracks, so I've got to imagine that Semi does finish him. Sano, he has no takedown defense either, so Semi can wrestle if he wants to. Like, fuck knows what this guy's been doing, but he hasn't fought for the last, like, 5 years or something like that. Like, he's unranked on Tapology, like, the Tapology rankings. Like, he's unranked for inactivity. I don't know what this guy's been doing for the past 5 years, but I doubt that he's been putting in the work that Semi's been putting into the gym, and also in fights. Like, Semi's probably started his career, like, 5 years ago. So, yeah, obviously I'm going to pick Semelsberger. I think he can, take him down, ground and pound him, or he'll finish him on the feet. You know, Semelsberger, he's aggressive style. He can walk on the blast double legs. From what I've seen from this guy, wrestling isn't very good, so I wouldn't expect him to out-wrestle Semi, but that is his path to victory here. Semi's not going to slow down. He pushes a solid pace. He's not going to stop punching this guy in the face, even if this guy does walk through 1,000 shots. And that's generally how this guy seems to win. It's just, you know, out-toughing his opponent. Does have a chance, I guess, if he does get Semi down. You know, Semi doesn't have the best bottom game, but the guy just looks horrible. The guy looks terrible. He doesn't belong anywhere near the UFC. Alright, so in regards to, what was the first fight we looked at? Was it Valentina? Yeah. Whoops. God, the split screen thing is annoying. Yeah, I was kind of hoping for plus money on Valentina inside the distance, like, kind of wishful thinking, but yeah, obviously not going to get that. I mean, Shevchenko by decision, $3.50. That's probably a little bit wide. Wow, Murphy in round 5, $67. No, nothing really intriguing, honestly. Alright, what was the next fight? It was Curtis Blaydes, Biggie Boy. So Biggie Boy, if he got to like $4, I'd probably play that. You know, might as well actually just play his inside the distance line, because he's not going to win a decision. So Biggie Boy, $4.55. Yeah, that's probably what I'd play. Blaydes inside the distance. Either of those, I think is in hindsight, you know, easy profit. I don't see Blaydes getting a decision. I think he's gonna finish Biggie Boy as soon as the fight gets to the ground. I think he's gonna get mount and he's gonna just smash him with elbows. I don't see him just grinding him out for a decision. Biggie Boy's ground game's bad enough that he's gonna be able to finish Biggie Boy on the ground. Yeah, I might look at both those inside the distance lines. What was the next fight? Roxanne. You know, Roxanne, perennial underdog, but if she got the $5, then that would interest me. At the moment, not steep enough, not wide enough for me. It's just, I think the line is correct where it is at the moment. I favour Santos around 80% of the time, so I think the line is correct. Yeah, $5, maybe I'd take a stab at Roxy. What else we got? Roxy by decision. You might as well just play the money line if you're confident in Roxy in this spot. What was the next fight? Sano. That's right. So, yeah. Semelsberger wins inside the distance. Yeah, pretty juiced. I mean, I think he does, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sano does survive, because the Diaz camp do pride themselves in their toughness. Semelsberger decision, that's much more tolerable than the money line at the moment. I do think he represents that money line. I honestly think he wins like 90% of the time, but it's too much for it's too steep of a line for me to play on a guy like Semelsberger, just because he is pretty green in his career and he does have a few holes. It's basically just a fade on Sano, really. So you just got to be careful, because you are putting your faith in a guy like Semelsberger, who isn't going to be champion anytime soon, probably isn't going to hit the rankings, maybe ever in his career, but, you know, you just got to be careful playing juice on these guys like Semelsberger. Even though you want to fade Sano really badly, it's a dangerous proposition sometimes.